Why did you leave teaching?
Because I realized that the rappers, that's who had the ear of my students. Me as their teacher, Mr. Augustine, everybody loved Mr. Augustine. They love coming to my class. But I got 30 students a day, 5 students in each class. That's 150 students that I'm able to reach each semester, you feel me? But these rappers, they had my students wanting to walk like them. They had my students wanting to talk like them. One of my students got a tattoo, you heard me, Jason, that said MOB on it. You know what MOB stands for?
Yeah.
Money over BI, there you go. Middle schooler. I said, bro, why did you get that tattooed on you? You know what that means? He said, no, sir. I was like, what you mean, no, sir? Then why did you get it? Because his favorite rapper, Lil Wayne, had that same tattoo on his chest. So that influenced my student to blindly get a tattoo, not even knowing what it meant.
So that right there was Christian hip hop artist Dee-1 explaining to Jason Whitlock why he left teaching to go into Christian hip hop to influence the youth to turn to Christ. Now, me as a person that grew up in hip hop culture, I definitely know the impact that hip hop has on the culture, man. I mean, I grew up, I started writing raps when I was in middle school, and I looked up to the rappers that were on TV. I didn't have my father. My father died when I was a very young age. My stepdad was verbally abusive and physically abusive, and he wasn't a role model. So the people that I looked up to were the black rappers on TV. Some of my friends didn't have fathers, and we grew up thinking that the popular thing to be was, murderous. Hip hop culture taught us that we had to be violent. We had to glorify sex. Growing up in the culture, we glorified murder, sex, and drugs. But, it wasn't until I became an adult and I heard the gospel being preached to me that I realized that, everything that I was doing as a kid was destructive and I was on my way to hell. So I'm just here to say I agree with Dee-1, and now I'm a Christian hip hop artist. I use my gifts to glorify the Lord through Christian hip hop and tell my testimony, but I want to talk to all the young people out there, man. We don't have to continue down the road of destruction. The Bible says that narrow is the road that leads to life, but wide is the path that leads to destruction. So we got to get off that road that leads to destruction. We got to get on the road that leads to life and follow Jesus Christ, man.